how do our talents, those naturally recurring patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior that can be productively applied, how do those inform, how do those inform sort of this self-perception category, if you will?
Sure. Yeah, well, said self-perception, it's all about how you see yourself, right? And again, you can't manage what you don't know. And so if you don't have an accurate or healthy or full view of who you are, then your self-perception, your self-regard, all those things, like, if you don't have an accurate view of what your talents are, what your strengths are, then when you show up, you may not know if you have anything to offer.
Sure.
Like, I'm not sure what I'm good at. I'm not sure what makes me stand out. What benefit can I give to my company, to my family, to my friends? Like, I know certainly as I'm coaching people, and even in my own life as I've seen it, the amount of like boost that I get of just like, oh yeah, like that is who I am, that
yes,
I do come to life in those things. And so as you start consciously living out your talents more and more and being able to see, that's my talent, that's what I'm gifted at, that's how I show up, that's how I productively apply my life, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And then it begins to build up that foundation of like, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer. And it also allows you to say, and this is what I'm not good at. So.
And I think it's important to mention here that just because you maybe don't have the talents that are about interacting with others does not mean that you cannot improve your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is a skill.
Yeah.
And we can all get better at it.
Like, I instantly thought of like, people who have the talent of empathy, often their empathy scores and the EQI, that they tend to be higher when I'm in my conversations with people. Or positivity, their optimism scores tend to be a little higher
right.
in normal, maybe vice versa. Some deliberative score, people who have deliberative in their top 5, their optimism scores tend to be a little lower. Everyone's different, of course, but those are the tendencies. But yeah, even like self-assurance, when I talk to people and I'm combining these and I see someone who's got a self-assurance in their top 5, you usually see that self-regard score is kind of up there a little higher.
We all have those naturally, our natural tendencies, and how and what we work with the CoreClarity work with your talents and all of that is to lean in. That's the whole point, is to lean into what you're already good at and keep developing those talents into strengths. And so it would then make sense that how we go about improving upon our emotional intelligence can be done through our top 5 talents.
So, I've got empathy, I've got harmony. I'm seeing how we have people have consensus, or what things that we have in commonality. I'm experiencing how we're feeling. So maybe the way that I show up and be assertive is around those things, like, hey, just being more vocal with those consensus things and learning to trust those instincts that you have. And that's where that self-perception, self-regard comes in, because if you don't have that good awareness and recognition of those things and have that confidence, then your ability to confidently step out and be assertive is going to be really hindered. Okay, now since I know who I am, then I know what I want to do.
Yes.
Right? And what I do, also I know what I don't want to do. And that's about a year and a half ago, I remember I was in a coaching conversation with someone and I got their EQI report. And this person was having really struggling in their role. And I one of my first questions was like, I was like, hey, you don't really enjoy your job, do you? And he kind of looked at me and he's like, I don't think I do. and he's like, you can see that in there? I was like, well, yeah. Kind of. Like, you got this higher self-regard and your self-actualization score is really low. And so for him, it ended up to be a conversation of like, well, this makes sense why we're having productivity problems here, because you're in a role that doesn't fit. there's that line that we use, you know, that people working in their talents feel less stress, are more productive at home and at work, and are happier and healthier. And that's
Sure.
true. It's like being able to name and to lean into, it's like, yeah, every job, like we're going to have things that we don't love, and that's just part of life. So
Yeah.
that's, but knowing that you show up best, I show up best, anybody shows up best when they are living out of really the core of who they are.
What do you suggest as a first step? Once you've taken the assessment, maybe take both assessments.
Yep.
What's a first step for people to really, you know, kind of lean into this whole strengthening their emotional intelligence?
So like one really simple exercise that they suggest is like when you're reading your email, take out a piece of paper and just read an email, and then just take notice of what your body did as you read the email. Did you sigh? Were you like, are we, you know, did you feel yourself smiling? Was it, and just begin to like note, like over the course of a week, you know, for like every time you check your email, or just one time when you check your email, if you check a few in a row, and just kind of notate. And then what you end up seeing is like, you discover patterns of like, oh, I keep sighing. Like I sighed a bunch today as I was reading these emails. What's going on there?
What's
So,
draining me? What's energizing me? How am I feeling? Yeah.
Or like, you know, or vice versa. The other say like, wow, you know, on Tuesday this week, like I was really boosted as I was reading those emails. What was the content of those emails? And then like, you know, what about those things is like jiving within me? Like, you know, is giving me energy, giving me life, making me happy. And again, you start to be able to name these things and see it, and then you do feel like you're in control, and a healthy control,
Sure.
of the things that you can. Self-regard, you know, being able to have the assessments, have conversations like this, talk to your friends and say, hey, what do you think I'm good at? What do you think I'm not so great at? You know, and being able to receive that from the people that are closest to you, and helping that be information of hopefully reinforcing, or, you know, strengthening, or becoming aware of who you are a little bit more.